and if you're an organization who's trying to think about promoting, improving data literacy, transparency of your data, better trust in your data, better accuracy and consistency of your data, better data integrity and quality, maybe you're trying to focus on policy compliance or facilitating some sort of new system implementation, make sure that goes well, or that it's like following all the rules of your previous systems. Maybe you're trying to get faster data request turnaround on things, or to help support your broader user base being able to do their own self-service reporting in a way where they have more literacy around that, or to help with integrations within your organization to understand data movement and ETL and all that kind of stuff. All of these things require understanding information around your data of various different types, right? So and the types of things that you want to track here, some of these, whatever your sort of priorities are, might make some of these more important than others. But the main sort of things that we're talking about here are your data system catalog, which is understanding all the different data systems and the technical metadata and other information around that. And we're going to go into each one of these in more detail in the tool, so I'm not going to go in too much depth. So this is really just talking about, we have this database and this database and this database, and this is all the tables and columns in there. And then your business glossary, which is, again, understanding all the functional terminology within your organization. And then also in our system, we talk about connecting that to the different data systems through technical definitions. So I mentioned that you might have this definition of what a customer retention rate is, and that may be a single field in your data warehouse, a single calculated field that gets populated there. But in your CRM or your sales application or something, that might be something that has to be calculated through a more complicated query or a function or something. And it's kind of useful to understand, for that particular term, if you're looking in the data warehouse, this is how to do it. If you're looking in the other thing, in the CRM, this is how you do it. Report catalog and data flow catalog, these are both, as they kind of sound like, it's a repository of information about all the different data processing that you have, either for reports that are being produced out of your system, or like integrations or extract, transform, and load processes that are happening, and the lineage of that process. So this is documenting that, the data processing. And there's sort of two levels of, three different use cases for this, kind of inventorying the thing. So like, I want to have a place where I can have a listing of all the different reports that we have across all the different reporting tools in our organizations, so that I can sort of search, like, hey, show me a report that has social security number in it or something. And that inventory, oftentimes can have sort of a minimum, almost like raw set of information around it, like what's the name of the report, what's maybe the actual code of the query or whatever that is, like, what's the tool that it lives in, and that may be sort of it, but it's still searchable for that type of things. The curation level on that would be, right now we're going to sort of create, have glossary citations for all the things on that report. We're going to be able to say, is this a certified report or not? We're going to attach policy attributes to it. We're going to provide more rich set of information around appropriate use and detailed information around that. That's that curation exercise. The other thing you can do is use this in that catalog is to do it for design. Like, I'm going to, if someone is requesting a new report, you can sort of design a new report functionally and say, this is what we want. This is the purpose of this. This is the types of information we wanted. This is how we want it formatted, and then that can get used to provide the requirements to a report writer to create it. That's essentially like front running the curation exercise on that, right? So that you've got that well designed. So a good report catalog and ETL catalog can serve both of those. All three of those purposes, depending on what you're trying to do. The next is sort of tools catalog, like documenting. Here we have the data systems, but documenting what the different tools are that you have for processing your data. So it might be all your different reporting tools. We have Tableau that's used by the department here, and we've got SSRS that's used by this department, and this other thing uses Click, and other people just are using straight up SQL for various things. And understanding that and like where those repositories are, so that you can just understand. We've got there's like 100 reports that are in that Tableau and these things. So understanding what the various tools are that are pulling data out. But those also might be for ETL. We're using Boomi for moving data from here to there, or we're using MuleSoft, or there's a bunch of PL SQL scripts or moving things out of Oracle. So just understanding what those different tools are, and then what, again, actual sort of repositories of processes are related to those. So it's really the tools would connect the things either in the report catalog or in the data flow or ETL catalog, depending on what type of tool it is. Reference data is tracking your lookup values and valid values, both functionally kind of and technically as well. So saying, hey, here's the list of going again with higher ed references, like all of our admission statuses for students, and what they mean globally, right? How we talk about admission status regardless of what system we're on. And then you might say, oh, and this is the list of values that we have in our student system, and here's the list of values we have in our admissions system if it's a separate one, and maybe how they map together, and you can help track whether or not those get changed. So there's a lot of useful things about understanding your valid values or reference data components. It's not something that's really used to say, like, here's a list of all of the people or all of the employees. It'd be more like, the employee statuses and things like that. Data quality, we could spend a whole hour and a half just on this topic. We've got some great detailed webinars on this if you want to dive into that. And I'll go into some more detail here, but really it's around understanding and tracking issues when they come up, having issue resolution processes, defining rules for your data, both generally and then specifically for various data systems, assessing those rules against the data systems, and having automatic and ongoing monitoring of those rules, and then automatic creation of issues or identification of issues and flagging of issues, and creating workflows when you find there's been violations of those rules. So it might be, hey, for all customers, we must have a phone number or something, and you say, oh, okay, we've defined that rule, we're running that rule against our CRM, we're running against our data warehouse or our sales system or point of sale system or whatever. You have all those things, and you can do initial assessments and then ongoing monitoring. Policy attributes are, a lot of times your people might be coming into a data governance initiative trying to focus on compliance with various policies around data access, security, or sharing. So you want to have the ability to kind of define what those different rules are and what the different policies are and the different attributes of those. Like, here are different types of privacy codes, and our different types of security classifications, or different types of access roles or something. So customizing what those policy attributes are to match your particular policies, but then taking those attributes then and applying them to various data systems or data model objects or glossary terms or reports, right? So this report contains PII or whatever. So can be an important thing to track to various levels of details based on your goals around policy. Requests is to think about the request around data as an object too. So if someone is saying, hey, I've got a request for a new report, or request for curation of report, or request for evaluation of a data quality issue, or the creation of a new definition, or anything like that, or access to this data system or something, that those requests can be tracked and the workflows around them, and you understand about, where are they in the process? Were they completed? Are they completed timely? Is there anything stuck in there? So tracking those requests. Then lastly, all of this content has sort of change management constraints around it. So that, or not constraints, but activities that you might have a data system that you get from a vendor, or maybe your own, where you've deprecated a table or added a new column or made some change, and you want to understand, there's a new version of that now. And then that you might have a business glossary that has a technical definition that's connected to that, or a report that is using that table, and you would want to see that there's impact. We've changed this table. It impacts 3 different reports that we need to look at and figure out if we need to rewrite that. So that type of thing is both versioning of any change, that you can sort of approve or reject. Things like, I'm changing a definition. What's the impact of that? Does that mean we have to change a report if you change the definition? That versioning and status of that change, and then the dependency and impact when that happens. All right, that was I said speed run, which I'm going to do for the demo, but I did want to kind of go through all of that first. So hopefully that gives you some sense of the types of things and why and the point of this and the terminology that we use around the content and the processes of data governance.